This is a presentation on participatory vendor selection. Selecting the right vendor for any organization is a daunting task. Many motives, ideas, and altering objectives can oftentimes impede the decision-making process. The following steps can be made as a useful way to manage the selection process in a large organization. First, identify each stakeholder involved and invite them to participate in providing their recommendations. Secondly, conduct a one-on-one interview with each stakeholder so that their preferences can be freely given and constructed in a model. Next, host a group meeting, presenting collective recommendations from each participant and revise consensus recommendations accordingly through the use of a straw model. Once discussion of each attribute has occurred, the group will then score each attribute through ratings and priority levels to go along with the revised recommendations. Once ratings have been assigned, the group will discuss any differences of opinions and rescore the attributes again to settle any discrepancies. Now vendor performance can be measured from the scores received, where weighted scores reveal the best vendor selection of the presented attributes. Finally, once a vendor has been selected, documentation of every detail, ranging from the scoring process, the selection process, the participants, and even how the meeting was conducted, should be reported for present and future distribution in the organization. In a one-on-one interview with Expert 1, 6 attributes of high-performing electronic health record systems was recommended. Guaranteed confidentiality, cost per use, and reputation of an EHR system were ranked as the highest attributes, while ease of use, compatibility, and a log of transactions were rated lower for Expert 1. As shown in the table, you can see that the greater the rating, the closer each weight is with respect to a total of 1. In the second one-on-one interview conducted, Expert 2 rated the attributes of high-performing EHRs slightly different, with the guaranteed confidentiality attribute remaining the most important. Again, you can see that the higher the rating, the greater the weight. After a group meeting occurred, a consensus model of the two experts is shown here, closely meeting the preferences of both experts. Vendor A and Vendor B are evaluated upon best satisfying the ranked attributes discussed in the meeting. As you can see in this table, both experts determine that guaranteed confidentiality, cost per user, and ease of use are the most important attributes to consider when selecting a vendor. Since both vendors maintain an excellent level of guaranteeing confidentiality, the weight of cost per user and ease of use attributes in Vendor A leads us to believe that Vendor A meets the needs of our organization greater than does Vendor B. Upon concluding evaluation, for each vendor, the overall score is calculated as the weighted sum of the attribute rating multiplied by the weight. With the range of 0 to 100, 0 being the worst and 100 being the best score, we can see the calculations for both Vendor A and Vendor B and see that Vendor A has a greater score of 86.8, which is closer to 100. Thus, a recommendation of Vendor A can be made as the vendor of choice. Participatory vendor selection allows for both administrators, clinicians, and other stakeholders involved to provide recommendation and greater contribution in acquiring a vendor for the organization. The consensus building model is an instrumental tool in helping an organization make complex decisions, as is the case when selecting an electronic health record system. This model is also useful in quantifying, ranking, and tracking pertinent information all at once. Serving as a consistent method to quantify subjective data, this process serves as a record of the logic used by stakeholders in selecting the vendor at hand. Overall, the consensus building model is a useful tool because it allows for every stakeholder to have a say without intimidation and also saves administrators time in processing each recommendation well before the general meeting takes place. By and large, the task of selecting a vendor is time-consuming. By having a method to streamline participant input, healthcare administrators can readily face the challenge of going through a vendor selection process.